Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Let's Make a List on KPCA LP Petaluma, California, 103.3 FM and online at kpca.fm. I'm your host, Phil. This is Let's Make a List, where we talk about pop culture things like movies, music, video games, books, television shows. I always forget television shows till the end. Make lists about those items, including those items, talk about it, and talk about some other stuff too relating to these kind of things. I figured out a big before we get our guests in here, we have a very special guest you'll learn about soon. And whoa, I just hit something. This is something you should this is for all you aspiring radio people. Big trick of the trade is when you have stuff to read off your computer screen, don't make it a really tiny font. It took me about a year to realize, I can make the font bigger, and then it's easier to read, and it makes my job much easier. All right, so with that in mind, in hand, in pocket, in soul, we have Ariel. Hey, welcome.
Hello. Welcome to you too, and thank you.
Welcome to you too.
For welcoming
Thank you.
of me. I'm glad to be here. Welcomed.
Did you go to the U2 show in San Jose the other day?
No.
You didn't? You didn't sneak out when I fell asleep?
I didn't.
All right.
But you would think that I would have like a bag packed.
Yeah.
Just hop out the window, climb over the roof, get in the car and drive.
Drive 2 hours.
But
San Jose.
put the car in neutral so you don't hear the random various noises that it makes.
You took the cats and you put them in your spot in the bed so I wouldn't notice that you're gone.
Just
go
them
stay
side
and
by
then go.
side.
All right.
No, head to tail. Cat
Yeah.
centipede. Catipede.
Catapede. Yeah, that bet it was a good show. We saw U2 a while ago. It was great. So today is a sports heavy episode.
I'm perfect for it.
This is good. We have somebody, myself, grew up where sports was a big part of my life. Lately, not as much. Last few years, I've kind of lost interest some. I'll get to that. We'll get to that part of the story soon. And Ariel, who you did play sports in your kids some, but you just don't follow professional sports or college sports or anything like that.
I definitely don't follow professional sports. I was very active in sports when I was a kid because my mom was like, get out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Go run around outside. You've got too much energy. But I was obsessed with some 90s sports movies that revolved around children and some about adults.
Yep.
And those feature heavily on my list. And then there are 2 that came out after the 90s.
Yeah. Our list today is sports movies. We're going to be talking about our favorite sports movies.
Spoiler sports.
Spoiler sports.
Sport alert.
Oh, I never knew. We should do this for the show. Whenever somebody says something, somebody else has to repeat that, but say it incorrectly.
Yes.
That would be great. We have to get a 2-hour slot, though.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to move to, what's time that probably, what do you think, Monday night at midnight?
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Perfect.
All right. Put it on the calendar, guys. All right. No more kidding around. Joke time is over.
Yeah.
Sports time.
Get a handle on yourself.
Yeah. So sports, you played, we talked about this before, you played organized soccer when you were a kid?
Mm-hmm.
And was that the only organized sport you played, like outside of school?
Nope. I played baseball. I did not play softball. I played baseball. I played volleyball was through school.
Right.
But it was organized. What else? This is really fun, guys. I swam for a little bit when I was a kid. I think that those might have been the sports.
But soccer is like your core. That was the one that spoke to you.
Volleyball.
Yeah, I know.
It had a ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
And basketball.
I know.
Organized outside of school.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I played organized sports, but a little bit later. It was like late elementary school, middle school. That's pretty much when I did organized basketball and indoor soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't do outdoor. I think maybe because of my asthma.
Indoor?
Indoor soccer.
I didn't even know that indoor was the thing. Oh.
Yeah, it's fine. You play like on basketball courts, and it was... A lot of it was just kicking. Bless you. A lot of it was just kicking the ball as hard as you can because that was fun. And the ball was like a big tennis ball. And I remember I played a few years and it was fun. And then one year I just lost interest. And I remember playing the game and I was goalie. And I completely started daydreaming. Mm-hmm. It's not like a big soccer field where things are going on far away from you. They're just like right in front of you. It's like when you're playing basketball.
But when you're tiny, everything feels much bigger.
That's true. And I was probably like
Because it is bigger.
10 or 11, maybe, probably 10.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a memory I have crystal clear in my head. I was goalie. I was just daydreaming completely, and the ball slowly rolled past me. I just watched it roll past. I was just like, what's going on? It was a ball. And it rolled past me, and then people on my team started like, what are you doing? Why are you paying attention? I was like,
that's very much like a story from when I was playing baseball.
And, and then I remember the coach was really sporty. He's like, it's okay. No worries. Not a problem. And like everyone else was just like, what's wrong with you? And I had lucked out. I had good coaches most of the time. If I had mean coaches, I never would have played at all.
Yeah.
It was all about the fun for me and not the competitiveness.
Sports alert. That's why I stopped playing sports. It was because I did not have nice coaches.
Yeah.
Except for one when I was like 6.
Right.
But
once you get at like high school, they just take it so seriously. And I understand for a lot of people that's what they want. But for me, it just ruined it for me completely.
Yeah.
And like even because then the people I'd be playing with friends, like going to tryouts and stuff, and nobody would be having fun. Mm-hmm. It'd be my friends would be like, what are you doing? Why are you sitting down right now? It's like, I'm tired. I didn't have breakfast. I rushed here, and people were like, no, we're gonna have to do laps, and people would just turn on you.
Yeah.
And if you like didn't understand how to run some of the plays,
and 100%,
then people would just think they'd just treat you like an idiot. And I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is school sports.
Sports are so much fun.
Yeah, but they're fun when you play with the right people. Yes. And I had because. You could just, when I was a little kid, my brothers and I would just have a ball and we'd go and make up games and stuff, like most kids do. Mm-hmm. It was fun. And I miss some of that sometimes. So when we go and play horse or play catch or something like that, it still can be fun. When there's nothing else behind it. There isn't any of that, like, I got to get good or anything like that. What was your baseball story that you mentioned a long time ago that I kept talking away from?
Years ago. Well, first there's that, but also I did gymnastics. I was a gymnast for a while when I was little.
Oh, yeah.
Anywho, the basketball story I did not know until high school when somebody walked up to me. And high school's so painful anyway. And I guess I had wiped this from my memory, but baseball was really boring for me because, like, first they made me catcher because they were like, focus. This will make you focus. And also I was just a bigger kid. So they're like, we don't know what to do with you. So here's a bunch of extra equipment and a cup. Little girl, you're a catcher. And I was like, well, fine. But then they put me in the outfield during some point of that. And apparently, according to this girl who ran up to me in high school.
You're still wearing your catcher
just
outfit.
The full rig up. But this girl who ran up to me in high school was like, wait, we were on this team together, right? And I was like, oh, yeah, I played on that team with his coach. Yep. You were the kid who went in the outfield and would just pluck the grass and throw it around and dance around it. I was like, 1, I've never heard a more accurate description of me as a child. And 2, I need to leave. Those are my reactions. I cannot be a part of this conversation. Whereas now I'd be like, man, I was a baller kid.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be there, but I used my time wisely.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out daisy chains.
So after growing up playing sports, and a lot of my friends were obsessed with them too. I followed professional baseball and basketball, and football a lot. And then when I went to college for sport management, I realized, I don't really like the industry. I don't really want to be involved with this. It's just like any other industry. I think most people are fine, But when you look at professional sports, which is what I was most interested in, so much of it is the owners of the teams just trying to screw over taxpayers, and it's just the amount of greed. And I know that there's I've talked about this before lots of times, I know there's a lot of money going there, and people will pay the money, so it makes sense that they have ticket prices high and all that stuff. But they still, so often the owners will basically, they get these people are attached to these teams. They have a deep emotional connection to them. And then they basically use that as leverage to get taxpayers and politicians to vote to give them tax-free land or give them all these other tax breaks or fund these stadiums that the owners will just make a bunch of money off of. And for me, that just really ruined a lot of sports for me.
It's almost like you have integrity.
Thank you.
Weird. But I won't outright say that you have integrity. I won't do that.
So I am more on the side of the players because a lot of people think the players look like the selfish ones. They're like, you're already making $20 million. Why do you make more? I'm like, if the money's going there, the players are the ones they're not the ones trying to screw over the taxpayers. And I just feel like they should also just charge less for tickets and make less money. But whatever. So I kind of lost interest. And the Warriors won the championship a few years ago, and the thing I always say, it's like I beat the video game. Like, now what? I'm done playing it. But this year I've got into it a little bit more. So that is our sports background. And you just watch football all the time. All the time.
I can remember one time that my grandfather got his way for Thanksgiving and they put football in the background, and it was the most boring thing that had ever happened. Shots fired, football.
Speaking of football, that shows up on my list a little bit.
Uh-oh.
But first, before we get to the list, public domain movie of the week time. Theme song. So
it's a good theme song.
So this week I stuck with a sports movie. Again, I'm watching public domain movies of the week, where it's old movies, watch them for free, trying to lengthen my attention span. There we go. That's the whole thing behind it. And that way, if you want to watch it, it's easy for anyone to watch. So I watched the Jackie Robinson story, which is 1950 movie based on the life of Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson was played by, you want to guess? 1950. Famous person.
Sidney Poitier?
No, Jackie Robinson. Played himself.
What?
Yeah, he played himself, and then I think like his college coach in the movie was played by himself.
Wait, what year was this again?
1950, I believe it was.
Okay, so my guess wasn't like too far off for the time that he was acting. Okay.
And it was a very much like a cookie cutter kind of movie where it showed a little bit as a kid, and then him in college, and then him in the minor leagues, and him in the major leagues. And he, what was I going to say? Okay. So he played himself from college, and that would have been great if he played himself as a little kid too. But here's the thing. The movie, I have mixed feelings about it. I'll say the good things. Good things are, I don't know if Jackie Robinson just has charisma. His acting is pretty stiff. And it's just kind of like, it seems like when someone guests on SNL and acts, but this wasn't a comedy. But the thing is, it's back then, most of the acting was like that anyway. So it didn't feel out of place.
Nice.
So it was like, oh yeah, he's just as good as acting as everyone else. And they covered a lot of issues dealing with racism and things like that. So they were talking about, sorry, I keep getting distracted. They were talking about, just as they didn't really talk about it as a little kid, the racism, but it talked about it in college where he couldn't get jobs and things like that. And he just didn't feel like, I'm not gonna be able to go pro because they don't have black players. And then when he was in the Negro League, and they showed when they would travel and they'd be like, okay, it's your turn to go into the diner and see if they'll feed us, see if they'll give us food. And he goes in there, and like the person behind the counter is like, "Nah, we're out of food, and we don't have a bathroom to clean up," and things like that. So it dealt with that, and then it showed when he went to the major leagues, and you'd have other coaches and teammates who would be very standoffish and be like, "I don't want to play with him," and then the fans who were just racist. And they had like a scene where they had 3 fans, and 2 of them were Klan members, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna get this guy out of here." And so they covered actual issues and stuff. It wasn't just about the power of sports shows your true character. It's not, because that kind of movie is baloney most of the time. But so I liked all that, and I thought his acting was fine, and he seemed like a likable guy, definitely, and he did important things, and it was great. Here's one of the problems I have with it. Which I know this is true in many ways, where there were things where there was like I don't know if it was the owner, the executive for the Brooklyn Dodgers organization, was the one who kind of fought to get Jackie Robinson signed and was going, here's a person who could cross the color line and will be a great leader and someone who can handle everything that's going to go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
But almost every scene where there's some kind of racial tension or disrespect or something like that, pretty much every scene there was a white person, a white man that would come and fix the situation.
Yeah.
They spent a lot of time basically making it seem like which it was important, like the owner and stuff the owner who fought to have Jackie Robinson on the organization in the major leagues.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt a little bit like, well, first of all, he was doing it basically for money. He's like, I want to win. It's like, okay.
He wanted to sell tickets.
I'm hoping that there was more behind it, just that, and there may have been. But it really did kind of feel like it was saying, like, oh, these great white people here saving the day. And like when he was a little kid and he went out and he didn't have enough money to get a glove, and there was a white guy who gave him a glove, and then he was outside of the stadium and the Klansmen were coming to bother him, and other white players came and interfered, and then it was like almost every time that was it. And I know part of the thing was they told Jackie Robinson, according to the movie, the thing is you can't fight back, because even though it's unfair and everything, you will be viewed negatively if you stand up for yourself, basically.
We still live in the same country.
Yep. And so it makes sense that people would come in and interfere and help with that. But it just felt a little bit too much like just, if this is how it was, I don't know. It just felt a little bit too much like, hey, thank God there are all these white people to help Jackie Robinson. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you're looking at it from the lens of now.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it's twofold. Back then, that's kind of how things had to play out sometimes.
Yep.
And like people could not stand up for themselves because things would go very, very poorly. Mm-hmm. But then there's also the other truth, which is a lot of white culture can't acknowledge that white culture is at fault.
Right.
Or is a problem, or is problematic.
Mm-hmm.
So it just tells stories about how heroic all of these white people are, without ever going in deep to how they contribute to a system that is racist and prejudiced. Mm-hmm. And so it's all a part of storytelling. It's part of the victors telling history and being like, look at how amazing we are, though. Like, I mean, do you really have that many problems? Like, we bought you baseball mitts.
And the thing is, it didn't make Jackie Robinson look bad in any way or weak or anything like that. Yeah. So it wasn't like they were going. It just felt a little bit too much focus on that. Oh yeah. Even though that was important, it just felt like that shouldn't have been.
But that's how a lot of racism plays out.
Yep.
A lot of the time, it's not as aggressive as you think it will be. It's very, very implicit, and it's very, very quiet and insidious. Yep. And that's where that mindset was coming from. Look how heroic we are. They were saving this poor white man, and we're lifting him. No, he did all the work, man. Yeah. Like, you got him a mitt, great, but he did the work.
Yeah. And I think reading about Jackie Robinson, he seemed also very humble and very much like, not like he didn't care about all the horrible things that were being done to him, but he also seemed to be very level-headed. And there's a scene where there's a guy who, I didn't know that this was a racist thing, where everyone was just saying all these racist things to him. And then when someone in the stands had a black cat, and they said, oh, here's your, what was it?
Something clever?
Something dumb, like, here's your cat or whatever, you left it. And then Jackie Robinson just picked up the cat and started petting it, brought it over to the dugout and just hung out with this cat.
I mean, how could you not? It's like, cat didn't do anything. Yeah. Thanks. Free cat.
But there was a lot of, it did a good job of showing how mentally and physically strong Jackie Robinson was. And I liked the movie because it did actually address a lot of the issues, and it seemed to be a serious movie about that. But yeah, I think it could have been done a little better, but this is 68 years ago. Yeah. There was, I think, another cool thing is because the first half of the movie, it's almost entirely black actors, which is pretty cool for a movie that old.
That is awesome.
And they are not. It's not like Rise of a Nation. Is that what it's called? Is it the one where it's
Birth of a Nation?
Birth of a Nation, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that one where they're playing, just racist versions of black people. But there was like one part of the movie that was comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one character on the team that they called Shorty, and he was a guy who was short. And so he would, whenever you go up to bat, they play like that old kind of silly music like you'd get in cartoons. And he would just pop the ball up because he was so short he couldn't get over. He just kept going under the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, "Whoa, look at this guy!" And it was really weird. And there were two scenes with him doing that. One where he just pops up and he's out. Another one where, and because he was small, they like made his pants go like up to his chest and stuff. And another one where right before we went up to bat, the coach gave him these large platform shoes, so he's taller. Then he got a base hit. But it's like, yep, that's what they do. That makes sense. And it was just kind of felt forced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Jackie Robinson's story, I liked it. This week I'm gonna watch 42, the newer one, so I can
Chadwick
compare. I'll
Boseman.
talk about that next week.
Nice.
So yeah, I put it right in third now on my list.
Nice.
So House of the Haunted, these are public domain movies. Number 1, House of the Haunted Hill, Suddenly, Jackie Robinson's story, Carnival of Souls, The Indestructible Man, The Brain That Would Not Die, Detour, then The Last Man on Earth.
I feel like that's a fair list.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for letting me talk about that for a while. And listening and talking to me.
Public domain, movie of the week. Ba-da-da.
So now we can talk about our lists.
Hey.
Is yours set?
Mine is set and it's numbered.
Should we do 10?
I have 12 now.
Oh, you have 12? We'll do 12.
So I can do 2 honorable mentions.
I'll do 2 honorable mentions too.
Talk about the 11th? What? No,
10th.
10th.
Cool. So my honorable mentions, real quick.
That's why I was really good at sports.
Sports is all about math. My honorable mentions are He Got Game, Spike Lee movie.
I still haven't seen that.
It's good.
Mm-hmm.
I like all these movies a lot. And Kingpin, very different movie.
Yeah.
Fairley Brothers, bowling movie. One of Bill Murray's best roles.
Nice.
It's really funny in it.
Cool.
Here we go.
My honorable mentions, Harry Potter series.
Oh.
It's the story.
Quidditch?
It's the story of a lowly seeker as he rises to fame and glory.
How many of the movies actually have that sport in it?
I believe that every single one has at least
Really?
a mention or
Even
you
the
see
first-
somebody
okay.
walk by. Not everyone, I don't think, has the full game, but there's definitely like practice or something.
In
that
the
has
last
to do with it.
movie, that's how he battles Voldemort. They play a
Oh yeah,
game
not
of
the last movie.
Quidditch.
The last movie, the world has gone to crazy places, does not have Quidditch. So the story of a lowly seeker rising to fame and glory, it takes a beat. It takes a beat. But that and then The Wrestler.
I haven't seen that.
It's a really good movie.
I should see it.
Yeah, with what's his futs? Mickey Rourke.
Yep, Mickey Rourke
Mhm.
and Todd. No, what's it? The comedian Todd Barry.
Huh.
Yep.
I didn't see it
Marissa
since it
Tomei,
came out.
right?
I think so. Yeah. But it was surprisingly really, really good. Because, Mickey Rourke, it's kind of like as he's gotten older, you can almost like make him into a caricature. But then you remember that, oh no, he can actually act. Like when he chooses to.
Yep.
As can any actor. Yeah. So what's your number 10?
My number 10 is Warrior. Yeah,
that is on my list.
Nice.
It is much higher on my list.
I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That was with Tom Hardy and is it Joel Edgerton?
Yes.
And Nick Nolte.
Joel Edgerton?
Edgerton?
Yeah.
Jolie Edgy. It's one of those that I felt like was advertised kind of poorly, where it just looked like a really cliche, corny movie.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. The acting was phenomenal. The characters were, you cared about them. And it was kind of a regular sports story, but
yeah, it was a sort.
where it built up to a big match kind of at the end, but it was good.
But I felt like how a lot of sports movies, they try to make it seem like the most important thing in the world to everybody when it has that formula. In this movie, and actually a few movies on my list, it's actually more about how important this is to those people involved. Like,
Yeah.
there are fans and stuff who care, but they're not really the focus of the story.
Right.
It's the personal stakes.
Yep.
Without being like, I'm a hero, and then the Eye of the Tiger playing. It's like, I in my own life need to get to this place.
Should have had more motivational music though.
Disagree.
When Nick Nolte's struggling, they should have. Tom Hardy should gone over to the jukebox and elbow it, and then it just has this motivational music. Come on, get up.
Love is a battlefield.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie makes me cry every time I watch it.
I've only seen it once.
I love it. I've seen it more than once.
Probably 3 times.
Hey. My number 10
Yes.
is actually Bring It On.
Oh,
The
I haven't seen that either.
I watched that because it came out when we were in the end of middle school, probably. And it was just fun. And I think that there were some people in my friend group that loved it, like genuinely loved it, by thinking that it was like not trying to make fun of stuff or be silly when really it is. And it was just fun.
And the first one's the worst one, so like half your list must be Bring It On movies, right?
Hey. And so it was just a fun movie about cheerleading, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of effort that's going into cheerleading. Good job, guys. You worked for those legs.
I should see it. It's got Mandy Moore. No, it's Kirsten Dunst.
Kirsten Dunst.
Yep.
And Eliza Dushku and Gabrielle Union, as well as quite a few other people. Mm-hmm.
I think someone from 3LW might have been in those. Or
Probably.
the Cheetah Girls, I think. Something like one of those,
There was
those groups.
some group. Yeah.
And they brought, I wonder how many of those movies there were. That seems like one where you go to the video store and you go in the $1 section. There's like, Bring It On.
17.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that there are tons of sequels, like Cruel Intentions. Kind of like spawned off a bunch of sequels.
American Pie.
That's a sports movie.
Okay. All right. My number 9, The Sandlot.
Nice.
Even if you don't know the movie, I'm sure you've seen the shirts,
You're
t-shirts.
killing me, Smalls.
Yep. That's just a fun movie. It really felt like the kids felt like actual kids. And it just totally seemed like, even though it took place before our time, but it just felt like that kind of summer, just, this is what you do when you hang out.
Yeah,
and
when
you go and you play, and
reign.
then what they had, the ball going over the fence, and then the big dog, as like the most important dramatic thing to happen in your life.
Yeah.
And it just, it's a feel good movie.
I haven't seen it since I was a kid, and I think I've only ever seen it once, so it never really made like a huge impact. But that's nice.
It just looked fun, and So that's my number 9.
Americana, childhood. My number 9 is Lagan, a movie about cricket in India.
That almost made my list.
Yep.
It did not. Because I still don't understand the rules. If I don't understand the rules, how can I like the movie?
I do not understand the rules to like all sports, and I played quite a few sports, and I did not understand the rules then, which means that I was an amazing athlete, and I do not understand the rules now. And cricket is like all over the place. No idea. But that has...
Excuse me.
I'm blanking on his name. Amir Khan, who is an amazing actor. And yeah.
As the one scene I remember the most is, do they do like a giant rain dance?
Yep. Well, it's not a rain dance.
But they're like hoping for
like,
rain, or they're excited because rain's coming, something like that.
Yeah, and there are like some crazy stakes. It's during the time of like colonial India when the British were there, and a British woman falls in love with an Indian man who's got his own relationships in his life that are established, and there are a lot of dance numbers. Some are very, very fantastic, and it's got a lot of importance on one cricket match that I think is the villagers playing against the English.
I think so too.
Yeah. And so it might even be so that they can have like a right over their own town.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But it's like something very, very important hanging in the balance. But Amir Khan, I'll watch anything that he's in. He's like Shah Rukh Khan and a bunch of other amazing actors.
I think what they did actually is I think it was to end racism. That's what it was.
For the future.
Colonization and racism, to end that. That's what it was.
The English would have to leave. And
all racism would just end.
All racism.
I think that's how
it would just like fall. Like the walls would just turn into like ash.
Yep.
Cool.
My number 8, The Replacements. Another comedy with Keanu Reeves, Gene Hackman. John Favreau, Orlando Jones. Let's see how many I can do. There's a lot of names in that. The guy that played Roy in The Office, and you've also got.
You can do it. I believe in you.
Some other people. It's a fun movie. It's about the football. NFL goes on strike, basically NFL, and then these players are the replacement players, so they can keep the league going. And they're a bunch of misfits, led by Keanu Reeves and their coach Gene Hackman. And you know what? They learn to play as a team and succeed, and it's fun. They play for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just liked it, and it's silly, but without being annoying. Or I thought it was fun. Cool. I just keep saying that word. Yeah. What's your number 8?
My number 8 is the Mighty Ducks franchise.
The whole franchise.
Because I did just put Mighty Ducks, the first one, but I can't quite remember the difference between 2 and 3.
2 is the Junior Olympics.
So that's Iceland?
Against Iceland, yeah, but it's in LA, I think.
Right. And then number 3 is when they're older.
I think like college. I haven't seen number 3.
I've seen them all.
Right.
I was like 100% sure that I would be like them.
2 was 17 on my list. Mighty Ducks 2.
Yeah,
That's good.
So whichever one I feel like is better on any certain given day, the Mighty Ducks were so big when we were kids. Like, I loved those movies. And I was obsessed with ice skating. And so it was like torn between wanting to be a figure skater and an ice hockey player.
And that's why you have that giant Emilio Estevez tattoo on your back.
Yep. It's just all encompassing.
It's just him from the waist down.
Yep. But in hockey gear.
Yeah.
From the Mighty Ducks.
Cool. I like that movie.
Yeah.
Here we go. Number 7.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Chips. I think we watched that. I watched it a few times, but I think it's basketball, college basketball. Nick Nolte's the coach.
I have not seen
And it's about this kind of smaller college going up to like the big time, and them just going and signing players, and then the kind of the cheating, dirty stuff where they'll pay players or promise them cars, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Ariel just got more comfortable, and so
just leave that open to the imagination.
And so it has Shaquille O'Neal playing one of the players, Penny Hardaway.
I thought you were about to say Pennywise, and I said I will never watch this
Pennywise
movie.
is my basketball, and it's just a drama for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And then it ends with them winning a big game against Indiana, and then there are all these rumors. Oh yeah, Ed O'Neill plays a reporter, and it was Ed O'Neill. It was the first thing I saw him in after Married with Children. And Married with Children, I was like, oh, the character's gross and everything. I saw him in that, and he's the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, oh, I mean, he's a good actor.
You should. Have you ever watched The 10th Kingdom?
I watched some of it with you.
Yeah, because he's got full face makeup as a troll king.
Oh, nice.
And it's Ed O'Neill.
I don't think I've seen that.
In a
part.
TV fantasy miniseries.
Mm-hmm.
Just, it's worth it.
And yeah, I won't say the very ending because you might want to watch it, but it's a good movie that if you like basketball, it feels very accurate.
Nice.
Yeah. What do you get? What do you got next?
What do you got? My number 7 is A Knight's Tale, which
I haven't seen that either.
It has jousting.
Jousting. I didn't even think of that.
It's a story that is totally anachronistic and weird and totally like early 2000s, late 90s. And
it has Queen music, doesn't it?
It has Queen music. And it's fantastic.
Is it one where it doesn't take itself too seriously?
It does
where
not
it has,
take itself seriously.
It's like takes place back then, but it like
nothing
maybe
is
references
accurate.
or has lingo from like modern times, something like that.
Everything is super modern.
Okay.
And so it's ridiculous. But it has Alan Tudyk before people really realized who Alan Tudyk was.
Mm-hmm.
And another actor whose name I'm totally blanking on. But Heath Ledger, and just like, it was great.
Nice.
It's got a lot of these movies have a real special spot in my heart.
I should watch that one. That's one that a lot of people have told me to watch.
It's fun.
Or you've just told me lots of times. I can't remember.
It could potentially just be me.
Yeah.
Bringing it up once a year.
So that was your 7?
My number 7.
My number 6, Little Big League.
Nice.
this is where we're getting where I was that age, probably as the main kid. It's where a kid inherits the Minnesota Twins. Mm-hmm. So is the owner, and then he makes himself the coach. It's a comedy. But again, the kids feel like actual people. And they actually are funny. Some of the players are a mix between just seem like regular people and then just complete goofballs. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of funny.
There was a lot of that in the 90s where it was just goofiness and embracing it without it being like spoofy.
Yep.
But being like, we're just going to have fun with it.
And the ending is not the usual. You wouldn't expect these kind of movies to end the way it did, which was when you're a little kid, you go, whoa, what? But then, whoa, what? But then you get older and you go, you know what? I appreciate it. And that's one of those where I think it's a little kid to be like, for me, be like, oh, it'd be so cool to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And which is what they were going for.
Yeah.
And I thought they did it well.
Nice.
Thanks.
Good job, producers.
They don't make movies like that anymore.
Not really, no.
They just don't.
Feels like a bunch of the kids' movies that are released now are just really, really dumbed down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're not family movies.
Right.
So that, like, when people use the term family movie now, they generally mean that it's super vanilla because there's like some sort of religious component, or it's just like, let's not offend anybody or have any sense of danger or risk for children. Whereas before it was like, no, you're paying to go see this movie too. So let's talk to your kids like they're not complete idiots and everybody can have a good time.
Yeah. What's your number 6?
My number 6 is a French movie called Populaire, which is about speed typing competitions.
Oh, I've never heard of this.
In like the 50s, I think, the early 50s.
Like on typewriters?
Mm-hmm. Yep. The Populaire is a kind of typewriter in the movie. Huh. It was on Netflix when I was still working at my old job, and I watched it a few times there. So it would have been on like those week-long sojourns when it was just me.
Do you recommend it to me?
Yes. Oh. I enjoyed it.
Was it comedy, drama, suspense, horror, documentary, sports?
It's mostly a comedy, but it's got great costumes, and the actors are fantastic, and it kind of like pokes a little bit of fun at the tropes of movies of that time.
Okay.
It's pretty good. Like there's a moment where the main character is typing so fast that her hair pops itself out of her like ponytail or whatever, like, which is stuff that I guess would happen in those old movies. Nice. It's fun. Mm-hmm.
We're going to the top 5 now. It's a big time.
Whoa. I mean, whoa.
Mine is similar to my number 6. Mm-hmm. Rookie of the Year.
Hey.
My go-to feel-good movie.
Yeah.
It's a kid, arm injury, so his arm goes and so he can throw really well and fast, and so he joins the Cubs. He just joins them. And then his journey going from kid to teenager to man?
Question mark?
Yeah.
You'd have to maybe watch it to find out.
He had to be rushed. Yeah. It's kind of it's a big it kind of talks about, addresses the issue of kids growing up too fast and kids being put in the spotlight and things like that when they're not ready for that. Mm-hmm. Fame and fortune isn't the most important thing.
Deep movie.
And it has it's actually funny and
Rookie of the Deep.
Mm-hmm. And the baseball is fun to watch because they just did the way that the sounds of him throwing are fun. It's like kind of a rubber bandy kind of sound, and then just the way that they did the effects where it just the ball zooms, it looked cool. And it was pretty cool
when the ball goes zoom.
Yeah,
nice.
And that's Gary Busey, not Nick Nolte. Mm. Your turn.
Two men that get confused for one another.
Yep, a lot of people do.
My number 5
yep.
is kind of in the same vein. Little Giants.
Oh, I forgot about Little Giants.
Rick Moranis, is that Ed O'Neill too?
Yes, he play that was great. That would be,
I love that movie.
Me too.
I can easily say I have not watched it in 10 years, and I could 100% watch it and just watch it with the nostalgia without being like, oh, this is ridiculous. I'd just be like, I'm so happy to be watching this.
That would probably be around 11 or 12 for me.
Yeah, it was just such a great movie. Yeah, it's about a little team. Is that football?
Yeah, it's football.
2 teams, and they're each coached by 2 brothers who don't get on. One of them is a little bit more quirky. One's like a car salesman or something. So
the former NFL player. Yeah. And the other one is, is he a teacher or so?
Yeah, he's like a smaller, because he's Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
So he's smaller and not an ex-NFL player.
Yeah.
And so each team kind of represents each coach's style. And like one of them's the quirky team.
Yeah.
Like they make their own equipment.
They're the people who couldn't, they tried out for the other team, weren't able to make it.
And they would not make
so
it.
They,
and one of them is a girl.
Yep.
And she is the niece of the ex-NFL player coach. And he's like, sorry, I can't have you on my team because you're a girl.
Yeah.
But it turns out that she's an incredible player. And team spirit, sports, yay.
Yeah, and Ed O'Neill is like the villain, but the thing is they still made him seem like a person.
Yeah, he's not
like I have relatives that seem
evil.
like him, and and where he doesn't seem like again, he's not evil.
Yeah,
he just is like, this is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, he's bogged down by,
that.
well, this is how it was for me, and this is what I like, this is what I know, and I'm not going to change that because that's ridiculous. And by the end of the movie, I think like he does like wise up, and he's like, oh, I kind of have been.
Yeah, it was
awful.
Whoever won the game between them got to be that city's team.
Yeah,
but then they decided
they
to
unify.
Yeah,
and so it like has a really like great message where it doesn't dumb anything down. I mean, there's like silly stuff in it,
right,
but it doesn't like you said, the villain isn't just like, I'm an evil guy, like in Mighty Ducks 2, where it's just like, I'm from Iceland, I'm evil.
Yeah.
Instead it's just I've been terrible. I should change.
Yeah, and Rick Moranis' character isn't like a big dork or anything.
No, he's just a regular guy.
He's just wasn't a big successful football player.
Yeah.
And he wasn't huge into sports. Yeah, just regular guy.
It's such a good movie.
Yeah, I like that movie a lot.
Yeah.
The only thing that I don't like is that the team the underdogs they root for, one of the ways that they score touchdowns is by cheating, by putting glue on kids' hands.
Oh yeah,
so
no,
I'm
there's
like
glue on one kid's hands. I think that somebody like blows a giant snot bubble. Like that's like one of their talents, is that they've got like crazy mucus powers.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
There's a bunch. Yeah.
But there's like the cheating. I'm
the
like,
sportsmanship side of it is questionable, but it's got a good sense of fun, and it's heading towards a good message.
There's a scene where one of the guys is in a grocery store and he's throwing toilet paper rolls across the grocery store into a shopping cart. I'm like, oh, that looks fun. I want to do that. I want to be able to throw toilet paper into a shopping cart.
Yep. And that movie is like, it's like Hook and Casper. There are certain movies from the 90s that's what remind me of what it felt like to be a kid at the time. Like there are certain things where it's like, oh, I remember what that smelled like. Yeah. Like that field at that time of year, you know.
Nice.
Anywho.
So that was your 5?
Yeah.
Nice. My number 4, Cool Runnings.
Nice. Also on my list.
Yeah, that is a classic. We watched that not too long ago.
Yeah, that movie's so good.
Funny. Good message. Good. John Candy being great. He was such a good actor. I like John Candy a lot. Everyone is just perfectly casted, and it just built up really well, and nothing but good things to say.
And it's I love it. That's my number 3. I'll just go ahead and say it. It's my number 3. I love the relationships between all the characters. I love John Candy, just flat out.
Yep.
I love
Dougie
Doug, who plays Sanka, is just magic. Yep. I love him. And it's also about an important story. A black team from a hot country joining a sport that did not really welcome them at all, and then establishing themselves and fighting for the right to be there. And like there's a lot of comedy and a lot of fun and a lot of silliness on top of that, but it is at the heart of it like these 4 men who came from Jamaica and were like, we want to do this. And then they did it, and they did it well. And
they learned, you don't have to change who you are.
Yeah, you can be exactly who you are and do very, very well as that. It is such a good movie.
It was. You said that was my 4. What's your 4?
My number 4 is Warrior.
Nice.
Yeah, I love it because I actually it really resonates with me, because the story is about like 2 brothers who are MMA fighters. One of them has a family. One of them has gone off and done other things in his life, but he's very, very angry. And he kind of like hates that his older brother always got everything that he wanted. And he's always had to fight for all of the same things because their dad thought that the older brother was the better
Right.
fighter, and he got the training, he got all the support, he got all that stuff. So there's a huge championship, and both of them want to fight, and there's a lot at stake, relationships included.
Mm-hmm.
And their relationship with their father really echoed with me, because he's an old man who's very broken and very sad and he's also angry, and he's also just this alcoholic who's just falling apart. And like seeing these grown men deal with that without caricaturizing it or making it seem like a stereotype, like Tom Hardy, the scene with Tom Hardy and Nick Nolte is just, it's such a good moment of acting, and it's such two good actors. And like, I would say watch that movie just for that.
Yep.
But I mean, like MMA fighting is very interesting to watch anyway, because, you know, you're using your body as a weapon, and it's very interesting when you can see people who have that control over their body. But on top of that, Tom Hardy, one of the most amazing actors ever. And then Nick Nolte in this, fantastic. And Joel Edgerton is really, really good as well. And I suggest it to everybody. That's my number 4.
Nice. My number 3, movie that I'm sure is not on your list, Happy Gilmore.
Nope.
Adam Sandler golfing one. That is best Adam Sandler movie, I think. That is him at his funniest. I have not seen most of his movies because I stopped enjoying them. But that one it's bizarre, and it just, I think you should, if you like any Adam Sandler kind of humor, this is his best. And it's got just weird characters, and everything about it's just kind of bizarre. I have nothing to say. It's funny.
Yeah, you enjoy it.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, nice.
That's one that I would watch. I think our friend Kevin actually did this too, where every summer, I mean, not every summer, one summer they watched it every single day. And that's a movie I would watch. I had it on VHS, and sometimes like at the end, just go, I'm going to watch it again, just to watch it again.
That's what I did with probably the BBC Chronicles of Narnia and
Star Wars Trilogy
and Anne of Green Gables.
Oh yeah.
Those 3, constant loop. Oh, also Sound of Music.
Right.
Watched that a lot. I had a VHS collection that I would just rotate constantly.
And then your 3 was Warrior.
My number 3 was Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings. All right, my number 2, A League of Their Own.
Oh, also on my list.
Oh. Fantastic.
Yeah.
End, it's such a bittersweet ending. It's like a sweet ending, the main ending, but it makes me cry every time.
Yeah, because it's like when you're a kid and you're watching that movie, you kind of expect a certain formula of storytelling.
Yeah.
That people will always be young, or like you're kids, or you're young people, and that's how the movie's going to end. But it starts with these women who are much older.
Yep.
And it ends with those going back to the more recent time in the storyline, and they are older women, and you're like, oh my God, this didn't happen just now.
Yeah.
This happened a long time ago. And there's so many more stories that we don't know, because like they hop out of the timeline to get to later. It's
and Tom Hanks is
there's
great.
No crying in baseball.
Yeah.
I love Tom Hanks. Gina Davis and Lori Petty.
Yeah. And Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah.
A few other people you'd recognize. They've done lots of things.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Oh, Bill Pullman, I think.
Right. Yeah. He plays Gina Davis's fiance.
Fiance. Okay.
Oh no, husband. Yeah, they're married.
Goes away to war.
Yeah, but it's about the World War II, and all the men were gone overseas, or attached to something war related, and so sports were kind of flagging. So they had women come out and play in leagues, and then at the end of the war, they wanted the women to go back home, and they weren't really into that.
Yeah,
and like they also weren't into just being cute for the time that they were famous and like actively being watched during the war. They wanted to play because they were baseball players. So it's such a good movie.
And one of the teams was from Racine, which is where my mom grew up.
And it's got great music, great acting, great story. And it's based in reality. I mean, it's about, I don't know that the characters are based on real people, but like all those teams were real teams.
I'm not sure. Probably. I'm not sure.
I think potentially. I feel like I've looked this up a long time ago, but I do not retain very much information.
So that was my number 2.
Mm-hmm.
What's your number 2?
My number 2 is the Black Stallion. Have you ever seen that?
Wait, the horse one?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a sport one? Does a horse race?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
We're going to watch that sometime.
Oh, yeah. That's one of them that I remember came out. I'm like, this just looks so boring to me.
Oh, we're going to watch it.
Oh.
Yeah. I love that movie because it's about the relationship between a boy and a horse. They
What
get
about Seabiscuit.
yeah.
Seabiscuit is that, but it's newer, so that means it's more realistic.
Yeah, but Tobey Maguire has eyes like buttons.
What about
Like there's just like nothing.
what about Dudley Do-Right? He rides a horse backwards.
Me.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is about a boy and a horse. Well, a boy who is on like a transatlantic ship ride. I don't know. He's on a boat, and the boat goes down, and he and this horse
Morph
get washed
into
up.
one. So they
It's the boy horse.
yeah.
But they survive together until they're found, and then it's a stallion, and stallions are very, very tough horses to have. You have to know what you're doing when you work with a stallion because they're very, very aggressive. They're also very, very smart. But the horse will only trust this boy, and it's fantastic. I love it so much.
Seems like any movies with animals makes me cry.
Yeah.
Because they always have something sad and bad happen to animals.
I'm gonna make you cry. We're gonna
All
watch
right,
this
cool.
movie.
All right. Got that to look forward to. My number 1, I think I know what your number 1 is. Cause, yeah, League of Their Own.
We ran out of my list.
My number 1 is Moneyball.
Nice.
That was.
Oh, you mean your movie?
Yes, I will get to. We'll explain why it's our movie.
Yeah.
But.
Oh, thank you for including me.
Of course. I read the book.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't care about baseball at all, I think you'd be very bored with the book. Or if you don't care about numbers and, I guess, business side too. I don't know. I feel like I don't know why I enjoyed the book so much. It's very dry.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie was able to take that and basically tell it in a way that's interesting, more interesting than the book, and more accessible, I guess you would say.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes place in Oakland. It's about the Oakland A's, which was my team growing up. And Ariel and I went, and we were extras in that. You could not see us in the movie because we're just in a giant crowd if they used any of those shots that we were in at all. But we got to go to the Coliseum, and it was fun because we went and just signed in, and they said, okay, go on in. And you walk in, and they had no one like directing anything. And the thing was, it was overnight, and they had different like 6-hour shifts basically, so people were going in and out. And so we just wandered in and then kind of walked around like, oh, they're shooting over here, it looks like.
Yep.
We go and we get there, and they give directions. We saw Philip Seymour Hoffman and Chris Pratt.
Mm-hmm.
And saw people making a movie, and we couldn't really tell what was going on.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
And they would move us to different places, and we got to see the big celebration scene when Chris Pratt's character hits a home run. We got to see it like 4 or 5 times. And it was just kind of funny because we'd be in the outfield, and they just have a ball launcher that would shoot at us, and you see them run and celebrate, and they'd all run together, and it was
and we'd jump
weird.
around and
Yeah.
yell. But
And-
I'm sure it sounded like,
Yep. And so they did that scene with crowd from a few different places. And then we also had a scene where Philip Seymour Hoffman walks out to talk to the pitcher, and just a few other little baseball things, obviously baseball things. But it was fun to see. That was the first time I think we went and saw a major movie being made.
and then we did another one too, in which you are actually visible.
Yeah.
For sure.
Another one with, Steve Jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You can see me in the movie briefly towards the end. I'm just standing there clapping.
And I am right out of sight.
Yeah.
Because I am like 7 inches too short.
Yeah. And if the lighting was different, I think we might have been able to even see you some.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. But that was fun to see because we got to hang out there for a long time and see Danny Boyle and how he interacted with people, and he was real nice. And
Danny Boyle
was
basically talked to us. He was just walking up and down right next to us.
Yeah, and we were in a small... They decided, like, let's film the scene from this angle, and they were just like, us and another small group of people were just like right there. It was pretty cool. We have 2 minutes. I want to do quick trivia because it's sports related.
Okay.
Actually, no, I should save it.